A 17-year-old high school student just lined up against grown professional men in the 400 meters and beat all of them. Quincy Wilson ran 44.10 seconds, the fastest time anyone under 18 has ever run, against a field of paid professional athletes. And Michael Johnson, a man who held the 400-meter world record for years and spent his career explaining how brutally this event breaks people, had to acknowledge what he was watching. The story of how a kid who still has homework got there is the part almost nobody tells. Chesapeake, Virginia. A normal town, a normal family, 2 athletic parents, and an older sister who runs college track. Nothing about it screamed future record holder, but athletic parents do not make you fast, and plenty of talented kids go nowhere. What made Quincy Wilson different was a decision his family made while he was still young. They moved. They packed up their lives and relocated from Chesapeake to Potomac, Maryland, so Quincy could attend the Bullis School and train under a coach named Joe Lee. A whole family uprooted on a BET that a boy was worth it. And he was fast in a way that was almost hard to believe. At 14 years old, still in middle school, Quincy broke a national under 14 record in the 400 meters that had stood for 30 years. The previous mark belonged to Obia Moore, a name older track fans treat as legend, a kid who was supposed to be a once-in-a-generation talent. Quincy erased a record that had survived 3 decades before he had even started high school. The track world noticed, then did what it always does with a fast kid. It wondered whether it would hold up. Youth records get broken all the time by kids who vanish. So the serious people stayed skeptical and waited to see what he would do when the races actually mattered. But Quincy kept answering. Coach Joe Lee did the rare thing and refused to rush him. He protected the schedule, controlled the racing, and trusted the long game while the internet asked questions. The summer of 2024 was the first time the wider public truly understood what they were looking at. At the U.S. Olympic trials, at 16, Quincy broke the under-18 world best in the 400 meters in a qualifying round, running 44.66. Then he broke it again. He lowered the under-18 record 3 separate times in roughly a month, eventually getting down to 44.20. A junior in high school was rewriting a world age group record almost every time he stepped on the track. And there is a detail about Quincy that tells you who he is underneath the hype. After his first Olympic race in Paris, with the whole world watching, a reporter asked how he wanted to celebrate. He said he wanted to go home and play Call of Duty with his friends, not a sponsored dinner, video games. That is the kind of answer that reminds you he is still a teenager. Because here is what makes the Olympic part land. Paris 2024, Quincy Wilson is 16 years old. He gets named to Team USA's 4x400 relay pool, the youngest male track and field Olympian in American history. He runs a leg in the preliminary heat, the team advances, and in the final, the Americans win gold. So a 16-year-old becomes an Olympic gold medalist before he has finished high school, sitting in class with a gold medal at home. To understand how absurd that is, the youngest male track and field Olympian the United States had ever sent before him was older. Quincy reset that mark while still a sophomore, walking into the Paris Games against men a decade into their careers. That was only round 1. Then, 2025 tested him. He got beaten by other high schoolers. He failed to make the senior world championship team. The same people who called him the future started writing him off, and he spent months getting doubted in public while finishing his junior year. So yeah, not an easy stretch for a kid who had never really lost. The question was whether he would crack or come back. Before I tell you what he did in Memphis, drop it in the comments. Did you write Quincy Wilson off during that rough patch, or did you keep the faith? I want to know who stayed. July 12th, 2025, the Ed Murphy Classic in Memphis, Tennessee. Not a high school meet, a real professional 400 meters against grown men, including Bryce Deadman, one of the fastest quarter-milers in America. Wilson starts in lane 5. He goes out hard through the first 200 meters, stays controlled, and in the final straight, he opens up completely. The clock stops at 44.10. He beats Bryce Deadman. He beats the entire professional field, from the front, in control, like the result was never in doubt. Deadman ran 44.39 for second. The rest of the grown men in the race were left chasing a high schooler down the home straight. Delano Kennedy crossed third in 45.00, almost a full second behind a kid who still had a senior year of high school in front of him. This was not a soft field padded out for a highlight. These were professional quarter-milers, and Quincy made them look like they were running a different race. Now let that number land. 44.10 is the fastest 400 meters any athlete under 18 has ever run, anywhere in history. World Athletics does not even keep an official world record for that age group, because times like this are not supposed to exist. It was also the fourth fastest 400 meters run by anyone on the planet in 2025, across every age group, including grown professionals in their prime. A high school student ran the fourth fastest time in the world that year. Among Americans, only Caleb McRae at 43.91 and Jakery Patterson at 43.98 were faster the entire season. 2 senior professionals and a 17-year-old was right behind them. That is the kind of number that does not feel real until you watch it twice. And let me get one thing right, because the people in these comments know their history. The 400-meter world record is not Michael Johnson's 43.18. Johnson held it for years after 1999, but Wade Van Niekerk broke it in 2016, running 43.03 at the Rio Olympics, and that 43.03 still stands today. So Quincy Wilson at 44.10 is not just chasing a legend from the past. He is a 17-year-old already within a single second of the greatest 400-meter record in human history, with a full decade of growth still ahead of him. After the race, Wilson posted 3 words on his Instagram stories. On to the next one. No speech, no calling out the people who doubted him, just 3 words, and back to work. That is the same kid who wanted to play Call of Duty after the Olympics, a teenager who happens to be faster than grown professionals. So picture this, the boy whose family moved states for him, who went home to video games after winning Olympic gold, who got written off for 6 months, just beat a field of pros and ran the fastest under 18 time in history. He is 18 now and nowhere near his prime, since 400 runners usually peak in their mid to late 20s. Los Angeles, 2028 is 2 years away, on home soil, with the whole country watching. So tell me in the comments, Los Angeles, 2028, Quincy Wilson at 20 in the Olympic 400-meter final. Does he win gold and chase down Van Niekerk's record, or does the pressure of a home games get to him? Drop it below. I read every single one.